All right, here we go. My name is Travis. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I have a sticker on my microphone that says that. Also put a graphic right up there that's going to show you the same thing. Uh, Holy shit, it's like middle of December. Time's flying. I've been working on my house, been doing this, been doing that, and it occurred to me, I've been in social situations recently. It's the holidays, right? You end up running into people and talk to people you don't know, people you haven't seen in a long time. And they have insights into what you're doing with your life, and I think it's appropriate to pay attention to that and to reflect on it. So, a thing that's come up several times to me in the last few weeks is this concept that 'cause people ask about the book, they ask about the podcast, all different things that I'm doing, and the main concept that comes up is, hey, this is all. People think that as soon as you talk about masculinity, that I'm promoting that hard ass, dickhead, asshole man thing. Because the word masculinity has been so warped in popular culture over the last 30, 40 years, specifically the last 10, that, that's what people think when they hear that shit. You know what I mean? That's what it is. That's what I'm chalking it up to. But it bears mentioning here that there are some, well, I'll just say it this way. Because, like I said, there's so much of that feminizing of men that happens in popular culture and out there in the world and in human resource departments and when you're in offices and just there's so much of that my book flies in the face of it. What I'm trying to provide with the book, I rattle off these 18 things, and there isn't much mention of the softness and of the able to talk about your emotions, able to talk about your feelings and shit like that. I don't talk about that a whole lot in there. I mean, in chapter, what was 8? Chapter 8, where I talk about honesty, I specifically am talking about your honesty with yourself. And a big part of that is, hey, what your feelings are, what you need, what you want, what you can handle, what you can't handle. You don't have to read the book to see all that. But um, between that chapter and chapter 17, which is titled Generous, um, those are really the only two places I really touch on that, about the softness that you need to have as a man. Um, for lack of a better term, right? So that it's the sort of a complement to your ability to be violent, your physical fitness, your accountability, your decisiveness, your loyalty, your stoicism. I mean, all those things are, like I said, these are the things that the world isn't teaching men anymore. That's mostly what the book is about. Like, you're going to get tons of chapter 8 and chapter 17 out there in the world. I'm gonna talk about them. I threw them in there because I don't want you to think that you're complete without it, because you're not, as a man. But anyway, that's the whole idea, right? Like, hey, everybody's talking about all the soft stuff, but this is the shit you're missing. This is what's missing when you are raised without a full-time father, or at least a very strong father figure that's also full-time. These are things you're going to be missing. Um, So that's the deal. Anyway, I thought I would talk about chapter um, 17 today, which is generous. And I talk about in there, I mentioned specifically like that you need to be generous with your time, with your praise for people around you, with the emotional well-being of those around you are in part your responsibility, because as a man, you're a leader all the time. So you have to be aware of those things. So much of their lives is going to be, I don't know, a responsibility of yours. And that's a thing you need to embrace. It's actually a pretty great thing. And like I said, I think I do a decent job of describing it in chapter 17, but I want to talk a little bit more about specifically here about the um, romantic love, about the actual, the what is love, right? So I put the quote in there. I put from Brick Tamland, right? Is that his name? The dude from shit. What's the movie with Will Ferrell and Anchorman, right? I put in there, I love lamp from Brick Tamland. Because, it's hard to define, right? I mean, it is hard to define. Um, I would tell you that it's the finest feeling in the world. I've never done real hard drugs, but um, I know this that those hard drugs they you know attach the same parts in your brain that romantic love does. So that's good, right? I mean, or is it bad? Shit, I don't know. I can remember working when I was in college. We worked in Rochester, and there was a street that we'd pass that the name of the street was New Love. And as mushy as that is, I always thought to myself, shit, that's the finest feeling there is. I think it's the best feeling you can experience as anyone, as a man or a woman. But you can, you know, it comes with some shit. Of course it does. So yeah, you start to feel that for somebody, and it's rare. That's a thing that it's a chemical um, thing that happens. You can't really control that. A person can walk through the door with 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 of your top 10 things that you would want in a woman, and you got nothing for it. Like you got no feelings whatsoever. And somebody can walk in the door with one or two, and they aren't even the important ones. And you go nuts for it. That happens. That's happened to me a few times, and that's tough. But I for one have always just opted to take the ride because it's rare. You know what I mean? Like the more time you can spend in a new love situation, I think the better your life is. You know. And as a single guy, that's a thing that I run into very rarely. So when it comes up, I try to write that up. But anyway, you become physically addicted to that person. Um, and that's it's scary, right? You get afraid of that. But I believe this that anything that bonds you together, that's what makes you able to run the distance, right? Because you have to be in love with somebody to put up with their shit. You know what I mean? Live with someone else. It's like having a full-time roommate that sleeps in your bed, uses your bathroom, eats your food, cooks in your garage. Like there's so much shit there. You better be in love or you're never going to be able to put up with that shit. So that's good, right? It's a thing that's going to bond you together and make you able to retain your status as a unit. And obviously the goal of that unit is to raise children, right? And that's a whole another shitstorm of responsibility and difficulty. I mean, there's tons of positive, obviously, for people to do it, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of things there that could possibly split you up, places that you might be arguing, places that are going to cause stress on your relationship. And being in love is what's going to get you through that shit. So, yeah, is it good? Fuck yeah, it's good. Scary. There's anxiety in there. It can be real shitty. It really can. Um, but count yourself lucky that you live in a time where you have that option, I suppose. I would tell you as recently as 70 years ago and forever before that. Uh, Love was a secondary thing, like in a union, because gender roles were so defined, and so you were so codependent, and not in this bullshit psychological sense. I don't mean that it's bullshit. I just mean not in that way. I mean you truly were 100% dependent on each other because she couldn't, go out and kill the beasts and hunt, and not at the same time get the wash done. And actually, women used to cut the firewood. I was going to say cut the firewood, but women used to cut the stove wood out in the yard. Uh, Raise the kids, do all things at home. That's just too much fucking work. One person can't do it all. I think of that scene at the beginning of the Clint Eastwood movie Unforgiven, where his wife has died. And he's trying to do everything. He's failing his ass off because that was a time when you needed two people. You had to have two people. So love was like a luxury, right? You were bound to your partner because you weren't going to survive without them, right? Your genealogy, your ability to pass your family on, your genes on, run the household, be alive wasn't going to happen. So you were bound by necessity at that time. And I'm always a proponent of hey, anything that bonds you together is a good thing. Okay, and that's why I said that the love chemicals certainly are that good thing. Uh, and that's another reason why, not the only reason, but another reason why I think those gender roles, people are trying to throw that shit out the window. And if you don't have well-defined roles within your home, whatever they are, then you're, I don't know, you're fucked up. If you think that you can do everything and she can do everything, well, maybe you can, but do you want to? Isn't it easier if you have somebody to help you? You know what I mean? It's a lot easier because she can be doing this while you're out doing that, and then two things are being done at the same time. It's one household, right? So be thankful for that. Trying to give you a little bit of perspective here about where all this comes from and What's the point of it all? Um, yeah, so the physical addiction thing, which make no mistake, it is. When you're in love with somebody, that's exactly what you're experiencing. It's exactly the same physical effects as being addicted to drugs. Um, as you know, I'm sure most of you guys listening to this are a little bit older, but that shit, you know, you get this honeymoon phase at the beginning where you're in love like crazy all the time for, if you're lucky, for years. You know what I mean? But eventually after that, it's gonna kind of come in waves. You're gonna get used to it. You're living together, you're gonna get used to it. It's gonna become more of a day-to-day thing. And then it comes in waves, right? You can set that up. That's where the romance comes in. That's where you as a man, it's your responsibility to set up those date nights. Have her come home and you got some of her shit done for her so that you guys can really relax and she's not stressed out. And likewise, she can do that same thing for you. She can have some things done when you get home. And those are, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but um, what love becomes, the most important thing that it becomes, I mean, those feelings are going to be there. Like I said, they're going to roll in and out. But the way that you get to them is through what you do. You have to consciously choose to act on that love. The quote that I put in the book, I highlighted it. Maybe it's cheesy as fuck for me to quote my own book, but that's what we're doing here. I'm trying to sell books, right? The emotion part is far less impactful than what you do to serve that emotion. I'm going to say that again. The emotion part is far less impactful than what you do to serve that emotion. Okay, so you being in love with somebody doesn't mean shit if you're not showing it, I guess, right? That's a dumbing it down for you. I'm sure you probably got it already, but so you got to learn how to give it symbolically, right? So you got to be able to give that. And the love languages, I'm going to give you a brief primer on this. I've talked about it a lot throughout the series of my podcast, but there are five. Um, First one is acts of service, and that's what I was talking about initially. Like, hey, you guys have decided that you're, like, I would tell you that in my last long-term relationship where I was cohabitating, one of my responsibilities was to make sure the driveway got plowed. Basically, anything outside the house was me. Getting the grass cut, any home maintenance items, taking care of the vehicles, machines, all that shit, right? And her jobs were mostly inside the house. And so, I knew that once a week she would, clean the kitchen, for example. So on Friday night, maybe I got home early, I clean the fucking kitchen, so she doesn't have that hanging over her head all weekend, right? And that's a way to, this is an act of service. I'm taking something off your plate, and this is me. And we as men, you're going to function this way. You are choosing to do these things, and it is you saying I love you without actually saying the words. You are proving that you love her. You are giving her examples, concrete things where she can say, I know he loves me because bam. When I got home, that kitchen was clean. What a nice thing. Now might not sound very romantic, but let me tell you, and live with somebody for long enough, things like that go a long way. So acts of service is number one. Um, Number two is gift giving, which is pretty straightforward. And very frankly, if that's your number one language, you're an asshole. You're shallow and fucked up, and I don't like that shit. Like, I'll give gifts, but if that's what you need to feel loved, oh man, did you have a fucked up upbringing? You know what I mean? Like, my ex-wife was like that. That's all she wanted. She wanted gifts all the time. Like, it feels terrible. It feels like I'm buying you, which was fucked up. But anyway, that's one of them. Usually people who have two, right? They have two primary love languages. One that's primary and one that's kind of a close second. Um, the third one is quality time. And I've told you, I've talked about this a lot, that quality time, in my experience, that's a big one for a lot of women. Um, they want that snuggle time. They want that cuddle time. They want you calling them at night before you go to bed, if you're not living together at that time, or if you're away on vacation or whatever. They want that quality time. They want to know that at the end of the day or wherever at some point, you are their primary focus. It's like an attention thing. At least this is what I'm gathering. Women, you could disagree with me if you want to, but yeah, that's what quality time is. So that's where those date nights come in, right? We're gonna go out, and I'm gonna take you to this restaurant that you were really interested in, and I know it's your type of thing, and maybe it's not my type of thing, but we'll go there. And I'm going to pay attention to nobody but you, nothing but you the whole time. And I think that's perfectly normal to want that attention from your partner. I think it's a very good thing. You don't want your partner seeking attention from someone else, right? You know? But beware on that. You know what I mean? Like, there's a good way to kind of vet your potential partners. Uh, I haven't dated much since I moved up here. I'm far from where I grew up, and I'm gonna just tell a brief story about this quality time thing. So I had this woman that I was dating very briefly, and she wanted to go, had like a morning full of things that she wanted to do. And I'm like, all right, cool, yeah, let's go do it. So we went and we watched this boat, and it had Christmas trees on it. We sat there and we drank our cocoa and shit like that, and it was cool. And then she wanted to go to this gluten-free restaurant. Not my thing, right? So I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. Yeah, that's just like she wanted to go to this bookstore. We went there. She wanted to go check out this other place, so we went there. Spent a whole morning. I mean, 4 hours, like 8 a.m. to noonish, something like that. And then, I told her, hey, at noon, it's a Michigan Ohio State game. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not missing that shit. You know what I mean? We're going. I want to see that game, and that's gonna happen. So, maybe it wasn't that game. Anyway, there was an important game on, and I'm like, we're gonna go and catch this thing. And man, as soon as we walked into this place to watch this game, she just shut down, started texting, wouldn't talk to me. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, well, my ex, he liked football, and I don't like him. I'm, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I just spent the whole morning going to a gluten-free restaurant. Like, I don't have any interest in that. You know what I mean? I did all this shit for you, and then, we're actually 5 minutes into something for me, and you're losing your mind about it. So that's how I knew. I'm like, all right, this girl's not for me. I mean, I need you to give back too. You know what I mean? Um, and I would have just settled for, hey, hang out with me until halftime, and don't make it a fucking shitter. Don't make it a depressing. Don't make me feel like I'm dragging you to this shit. You know what I mean? Because I didn't do that all day. I tried to enjoy myself, and I was successful. Some of the shit you want to do is pretty cool. But that's like I said, that was a good way to figure out where she was on that, and I figured out at that point, yeah, she's not gonna give in a relationship. She just wants to receive. And I think I'm gonna digress here, but tell me I'm wrong on this. The world does a great job, I think, of teaching women how they should be treated. Like, this is what you deserve. This is what you should accept. This is what you should not accept. The world does a great job of that, and I think parents and society do that as well. And I think the world likewise spends a lot of time trying to impress upon men how to treat a woman. Like, these are the things you should be doing. This is how you should act. Fuck, I'm doing that right now. That's exactly what this show is. It's me trying to teach you that. But there is a massive vacuum of about teaching men how they should expect to be treated in a relationship. You're left hanging on some kind of tongue-in-cheek juvenile bullshit like, um, you know, keep your balls empty and your stomach full. Like, that's so basic, and it doesn't tell you, it doesn't give you any kind of guideline. You know what I mean? You could be in a relationship and you're getting those two things, and you think that that's all there is, and there's actually a lot more out there for you. And yeah, the world does not teach men how to be treated, and worse than that, it's been a long time since mothers taught their daughters how to treat their partner, how to treat their man. You know what I mean? And especially in the world we live in, where we've got 40% of people are raised by single moms. Now you can't even watch mom treating dad well because dad's not there. You know what I mean? So that's a vacuum, and I'm not comfortable with that. It sucks. You have to kind of fight your way through it and figure out what you deserve and what you don't deserve. And um, what I land on when it comes to that is, I don't like the word. I don't like to self-apply the word deserve. I don't like that. Instead, if I'm going to say that I deserve a thing, I better also be able to say about that same thing that I earned it. You know what I'm saying? Like that I earned it. So I think about in all of my relationships, I always try to be very front heavy on giving, whatever it is, whether it's a romantic relationship or a business relationship or a friend relationship. If somebody needs something, I go out of my way to help them. I would tell you that if you asked my friends what my number one trait is as a person, they would say that it's loyalty. And I've heard that from some of my friends, and it makes me very proud. Well, how do they know that? Because I find ways to show it, right? Like I talked about earlier. It isn't about the feeling, it's about what you do. It's about the tangible things that another person can look at and say, I know he's loyal because of this. You know, because I know that in the middle of the night, my buddy Andy used to say this, and it just it still gives me tremendous pride. He used to say that I know that it doesn't matter what time it is or where the fuck I am. If I need help and I call you, you will come get me. You will come help me. It doesn't matter what it is, you'll be there. He would say that about me. What a tremendous compliment. You as a man, that's a thing you should strive for from just about everyone that you give a shit about should think that about you. They should know that about you because if they ever have needed you, you were there. You know what I mean? That's the, I know I digress there, but it still does have to do with quality time. If, somebody is stranded in the middle of nowhere and they're in a dangerous neighborhood, that's some pretty quality time to be down there and helping them out, right? That's giving that quality time, and that's a thing where your boy now knows that he can count on you. Or I dated a girl, she used to like to run out of gas, and I'd fucking come get her. You know what I mean? Help her out. You know what I mean? A grown woman, mid-30s, but ran out of fucking gas all the time. I'd show up. I always keep my gas can pretty full anyway, but I'd go fill her tank up and get her out of there. And yeah, and it's a little annoying, but more than that, you should be looking at that as an opportunity. Hey, I just got the chance to flex my love. I got a chance to show you that I'm willing to do whatever you need. Like I'm here for you. And that this is me loving you is doing things like that, right? And then for me, like I said, there's that front heaviness. If I know I've done those things for someone, now I don't for a second. Well, less likely anyway. I feel less anxious about asking for help from someone. You know what I mean? Like I don't like knowing somebody for a short period of time and already asking for help on something. It makes me feel needy. It makes me feel not independent, and I don't like that. You know what I mean? So if I know I've already given a lot in a relationship, it makes it easier to ask when you need it, which is cool. And I've got some close friends who are good people and will, I know if I call them, they will answer if I'm in a jam. And I've purchased is the wrong word, earned it. I've earned that from people. So that's the quality time thing. Um, The fourth, there's five love languages. First one was acts of service. Second one was gifts. Third one is quality time. Fourth one is physical touch. And that's pretty straightforward. There's it's a great way. It's almost like pressing the love button. I don't mean like your private parts, your cha-cha, or your ding-dong. I mean, like when you hold hands with somebody, or when a woman rubs your neck, or touches your face, or runs her fingers through your hair, that fucking feels good. And that's like hitting that same. You're getting a little dose of those love chemicals in your brain when somebody does that to you. If physical touch is one of your primary love languages, and physical touch for me, that's a close second. For my as far as what works for me. Now, that said, that's not going to do much for me if there isn't that mutual, chemical love going on, that mutual, hey, I want to be around you all the time, and I'm willing to do whatever you need from me. Like, if I don't have those love feelings, the physical touch isn't going to do much for me. I mean, outside of the basically like getting your back scratched, it feels good, but then it goes away, right? That's it. You're going to need to get it scratched again later. So that's physical touch. If that's your thing, I have dated, let's see, my last long term, physical touch was a big one for her. She sent me this graphic of this girl coming into a room, and her body language was negative, sad, and there was this little battery icon next to her, and it was on like almost out, like it was very, very low. And then she sat in the lap of her significant other, this male, and her battery just got recharged all the way up after sitting there for a while, which really illustrated to me how that worked for her, and it was stronger for her than it was for me. Um, but I never understood that before that graphic, which I was like, is this how it works, really? And sure as shit, it does. So that's the physical touch thing. Do a little more research on this shit if you want to. And I'm going to tell you that, yeah, physical touch is a big one, but it's with a qualifier, right? It's got to be the person, or that physical touch doesn't really mean much to you. It doesn't help as much. And then the last love language is words of affirmation, and that has always been my number one. I mean, I need to hear, needs a strong word, but boy, do I like to hear, hey, good job. I'm impressed by you. I respect you. You are amazing. Thank you so much. You're really good at this. You're really good at that. I appreciate this. I appreciate that. Like those things, those actual words, specifically when they're written for whatever reason. I mean, I love hearing them too, but seeing them written is uh, is huge because I can reread it. It's like it's weird. Uh, like you can think it through and read it again and really take it in when it's written, right? But that's number one for me is words of affirmation. And I don't think that I'm not a very insecure guy at all. Boy, I used to be when I was younger, but I'm pretty confident most of the time. Um, but those words, they mean so much. You know what I mean? That it's such a big deal to hear someone say, yeah, you're the one that I choose. You're the one that I want to be around. You're the person that I can't wait to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Um, all of that shit. Those words to me go a long way. Jordan Peterson, I'd like to talk about his shit all the time, but he talks about these very basic daily things that can make or break your relationship. Like he talks about how your dog or your dog gets you getting home from work. Your dog gets that right every fucking time. They just go bananas. They're so excited to see you. You think about if your partner showed half that amount of enthusiasm just to see you, how good you'd feel all the time and how secure you'd be in that relationship and how much shit you wouldn't even hesitate to give back because you're receiving that gratitude, that respect, that care, that love, that focus, right? If you, there's a thing that you as a man should be looking for on how to be treated in a relationship. Those little things like, what's her voice like when she answers the phone? Right? Is she smiling when you call? You can hear that through the phone, you know what I mean? Like shit like that is how you know you're doing it right. That's how you know that you're making her life good. If you're getting that back, those expressions, which I would consider part of words of affirmation. So that's the fifth one. Like I said, that's my number one, words of affirmation. My second one, like I said, is physical touch, but it's got to be the right person, or it's not going to do really anything. Uh, it's just how it is. But so those are just five different ways that you can show that love, where you can show how you feel to a person, where they can then have those tangible, well, I know they love me because X, Y, Z. Or I'm so thankful for him because X, Y, Z. And here's another piece to this. Once you pick out your top one or two, I think what you'll find is that that's the one you're best at giving. And it makes perfect sense. Like you understand receiving it, you appreciate it so much, and you really get it. You understand it, and you know how much it means to you. So of course, to express your feelings, you're going to use that same one to someone else because you're like, well, this must be the way that you do it because it feels so good when I feel it that way. But lots of times when you are in a relationship, that other person has different love languages. Like she might be quality time number one and acts of service number two, and you might be like me. Maybe your words of affirmation, physical touch. You got nothing that really crosses over. So in that situation, what you have to do is you have to learn those other love languages and learn how to express them that way. And that's going to take some communication with her and some reading and some research on your part. And but mostly just paying attention, like trying to do a few things and seeing how she reacts. You know what I mean? Try that act of service, see what it does for her. Try, putting in some quality time, see how that goes. Um, you know what I mean? Wouldn't hurt to you can just you can Google love languages quiz and figure out your shit pretty quick and have her do it too. But it's a great way to improve your marriage for sure, improve your relationship. And I'll tell you, it's unusual and rare and awesome when you find somebody who just naturally has the same love language as you do. Boy, is that nice. You don't have to really try that hard, and you're already so good at it. So what's going to happen is they're going to be able to feel your love really well. You're probably going to be able to feel theirs because you're going to know exactly what to look for. And when they do express it, you're going to totally get it. Like you're going to feel it. And that's a tough, thing for some people, in some relationships. Like, hey, I've been doing all these things to show you how much I love you, but she doesn't hear love that way. Like she doesn't give a shit about maybe she doesn't give a shit about acts of service. And you went outside and washed her car and plowed the driveway and went and did the grocery shop and did all this bullshit, and that doesn't to her that doesn't feel like love. That's just you doing shit. She doesn't feel that as love. She needs to feel it from something else. Does that make sense? Yeah, so I got really into the feels here after checking out chapter 18, or sorry, 17, generous. And yeah, normally I talk more about the harsher stuff, the more traditionally masculine things, but it is the holidays. You're going to be around a lot of people you love. You're going to be expressing that love, I hope, and having it expressed to you. So I thought this might have been, a good opportunity to talk about it. Um, yeah, I'll keep this in mind, of course. Another piece teaching you how to be loved. Men, you're always pretty much going to prefer loyalty. That's going to be your number one thing from anyone, even a woman. So if she's expressing that loyalty in ways that you understand, you probably have a pretty good relationship. Women, if you're listening to this and you hear that shit, hint, hint. You know what I mean? All right. One last thing too. When you do this shit, don't uh, don't do it to receive. I know that sounds cheesy and cliche, but do it because, like I said earlier, you want to feel like you want to be comfortable knowing that you're giving in a way that is at a level that you like. Like I can go to bed knowing that I loved you well today. I want to be able to know at the end of the week that I loved you as hard as I could within reason, right? I got a job and I got all those other things to do, but when I had the opportunity, I loved you. And so then it's going to make you easier. It's going to make it easier for you to not really ask for help, but accept love when it comes your way. I've been in that position before. I really have, where I don't feel like I've loved her enough, but she's loving me anyway. And it 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 interferes with my ability to accept that love if I don't feel like I earned it. And maybe that's some kind of fuck up I have in my head, but what I've learned to do to fix that is to earn it. So there you go. All right, holidays, guys. Get out there and earn it. Do it right. Take care of business. My name is Travis Neville. I wrote this book called Reviving Masculinity. It's available on Amazon. It's available at Walmart. You can just Google it and it'll come up. I got a website, travisneville.com. You can get on there and buy the book. If you buy it there, I'll send you an autographed copy. And I usually throw some stickers in there for you. They look like this. And I got t-shirts looking exactly like the one I'm wearing, which I did in partnership with the Blue Collar Clothing Company in Mile, Michigan. Great people. Uh, yeah, love, guys. It's important. Do it. I love lamp. I hope in some way this show helped you to get your shit together. Have a great week.